bad to say, but looking at the front of this magazine, it's too cheesy for me. Like, it's like smiley, happy. Like,
and real?
No, like these
like,
two obviously
just,
never had a fight in their life.
Yeah, it's like, really? Like, I don't. It's just too cheesy. Like,
that's actually what you guys like. Do you feel that way? Like, that doesn't relate to you?
Yeah,
Like,
because they're too perfect.
So
And then when I read, I'm like, well, I obviously suck at life. I'm not dating an NFL player, or I don't make millions, so I don't know.
So would you like to whom do you think this magazine is directed? Like, you had to give like an age range or something?
Like my mom.
It's totally my mom. Actually,
Yeah.
more my mother-in-law than my mom.
Yeah.
They're the same age.
Do you see your friends, like girls like from your age that
No.
would be interested? Why?
Maybe we're too worldly. I don't know.
I'm not worried about Rose being Rose.
Yeah.
Sure, we're crazy.
Have any of you heard of LDS Living before today? Or have
I
any
saw
of you?
like a BYU TV, maybe.
I've heard of it. Never really looked through it.
Never interested at all?
I figured it was like Utah Valley moms.
Or just what are your thoughts with the title LDS Living? When you see that, what is your thought?
It
Reminds
sounds
me
like.
of Martha Stewart living.
It's probably not something I see for myself. It's something I see my parents maybe wanting to look at just because of the title, and that sounds bad because I'm LDS, but
So just from the title, like if you, like just hearing that, it wouldn't make you want to, it wouldn't make you interested in looking at the magazine, like before.
it almost just sounds like you said, kind of like too perfect almost.
So.
I think it's just the way society is these days. Anything where you get information really quickly is pretty widely used. I mean, I use Twitter more than I'll use anything else because I get it on my phone and I follow all the news stations. So I get all my news through Twitter. My wife makes fun of me. She gets annoyed with it, but then I don't have to watch the news or get on the internet to read the sites. I see the headlines and see what interests me.
Yeah, I look more at the internet or those more instant, up-to-date, rather than something that sits on my counter for a month. Because then by the end of the month, it's outdated.
So is any sort of like, would you guys, if you had like unlimited budget, would you think you would have more magazines, or is it just kind of like?
I've never even thought to buy a magazine.
Yeah, I mean, I hate stuff accumulating in my house.
Most of my experience with magazines comes while waiting in lines, like at the grocery store or Walmart. Just like, oh, there's a magazine, I'll pass the time flipping through and looking at the pictures.
I think internet nowadays is kind of the main source of getting information for me anyways. If I want to know something, I'm not going to try to find it in a magazine. I'm going to pull it up on my computer and look for something.
Well,
LDS and.
I think like this is cool because it's science with a little bit of religion, so that's nice. Or what about technology being done, or an issue about what's being done in Japan right now, or something like that. Like what's happening right now.
Or current event type
Yeah,
stories.
like mix it with Time Magazine with LDS culture or something of that nature. I would be more interested to read because this just looks like something that would sit on my mom's table.
And you, like that.
Something that popped in my mind as a single guy. If I were to read this, I don't really see a lot of like men's magazines. Sometimes they have tips on like grooming, like how to, I don't know, like do your own clothing, like don't mix, these colors with those colors, like, things that you probably use. LDS living for me, it would probably mean like things you do in your everyday life. It's something you do like in your normal life, like, I don't know how to iron. So
Yeah.
they taught me how to do that and use fabric software or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say that same thing. Like, and I've
Self-help kind of stuff.
yeah, self-help. I like this health and beauty thing. This is something that would interest me. It might not interest Brandon as much, but it probably interests his wife. So if you have a good mix of things like that in there, things for the home, things that we use in our everyday life. I mean, this is interesting to me, but it's on the very last page, and I'm probably not going to flip through this whole magazine because a lot of it didn't interest me. You know, so I think it just needs to be mixed in.
That one right there, is,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a great article about Austin Collie, and I think it's great. You know, things have worked out well for him. But if my wife is going to have this magazine, she doesn't want to read about everyone's perfect life. She wants to know that everyone else struggles with the same things she does with the kids and trying to keep her house clean.
Yeah, like I would rather.
Some stories that are a little more realistic to everybody as opposed to, you know, and not to say that these stories about people who have great lives and great things happening to them aren't great to read about, but a little more on what goes on for the normal average LDS person.
Like an article of somebody who is like you and it's struggling. Hey, I don't get along with my husband. I don't
Yeah.
feel
Or
the
maybe-
spirit at home.
Or I didn't, and this is what I did, and it's working for me right
Uh-huh.
now. It'd also be nice to have like how-tos
Yeah.
of something, like the recipes. I would actually use that, but there's a how to paint this kind of design on a wall
Yeah,
with little short steps. Would be nice.
things on each side.
One of the things I kind of noticed is most of the stuff is already for like grown-ups and you know like someone who's like I guess probably from their 20s on up might read it, but if they had something that might interest like a teenage kid like 12 year old, you know how to build your own paper frog or plane or how to play marble, I don't know, something like you're saying activities that you can do, to help you out with it, like your Boy Scouts or camping or something like that. This is the one of the things that I find interesting when they give you like tiny little bits of information about something. It just calls your attention.
Like facts.
Yeah, facts.
Is that a timeline?
Yeah. State the history. They start giving you facts. I usually get drawn to those so fast and end up reading most of them.
I like short things like this. It's just like a snippet. I don't have to flip to another page, but it's like just short. Otherwise, I won't read it.
Can I tell you what I hate about magazines? Sorry, go ahead.
So,
I like more, just because of who I am, but I like stuff that just gives me information really quickly. I don't want to have to read a whole long article about something. I want to read a paragraph about it that gives me all the information. I like data. That's something that's pretty short and to the point. So, which is usually what, strangely, that's what Golf Digest is for me with one of my hobbies. It's everything that's in there is very short. I quite like that. Everything we do, or at least me, I tend to be a very visual learner, and so if I see a picture of something, that's going to stick out to me more than maybe the words would. So, I mean, realistically, everything we've talked about maybe improving on in this is probably in here, but when we've never seen it before, when we just glance through, there's some things that are distracting and that don't stand out enough for us to pick it up.
And I think, like, our generation, we're so used to going and going and going and getting our information quick, and we don't want to have to sit and stare at the front cover of this for 5 minutes reading each little tiny word. I would rather just look at it and know it's something I want to read
Probably pictures.
by a picture. Or by a big word, one big word that, like this says HCG diet debate. All they have to write on here is HCG. People will know exactly, and they'll want to read it because of that.
It'd also be nice if they had links to other things like fun date ideas for couples, and then here's a link on where you can buy the tickets or something, or here's a link on, I don't know, how to organize a child's bedroom or something, and come look at our online pictures and scroll through it. Because if I look at it, and they could even put more advertisements on there if they had to meet their advertising budget. They could have little things on the sidebar on the internet, and I'm more likely to go there and look for more details.
so you would actually actually, if they had like a link in there, you would go, if you liked that idea concept, you would go to the LDS.
If it applied to me, I actually thought it'd be worth my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if it had like fun date ideas, I'd go. Something like that. Or how to teach a really study lesson, and how to tell that one sister that won't stop talking, or how to make her stop talking. Different things like that.
I'm sure there's more.
There's like common family ones that I think are interesting. There's like one about like different ideas for family nights or different ideas like to do on to keep a Sunday. It's like 15 ways to reinvent your Sunday. And with kids, like I think for Mormon culture,
I think you could use it as a help, like teaching ideas. Get random people. What do they do for a Relief Society activity, or a difficult lesson to teach young kids? How did you do it, and how was it successful? What props did you use? Some stuff that we can actually use, as opposed to just reading that somebody had a great experience about something. I mean, how to put together some of these crafts. Like if I had to go teach a Sunday school class to a bunch of 13-year-olds, how would I keep them interested? What are some tricks that people use?
The worldly
yeah, it's
things.
definitely hard to balance. And that's what I find is the hardest is balance in all things. Balance in schoolwork, balance in work, balance in being home with my family, balance in like reading my scriptures, all my church priorities. Finding that balance is definitely a hard thing, but there's those things that you have to do in this life.
Great.
And I just want my kids and my wife and I to have experiences and other than just necessarily, well, not just necessarily here, but maybe a little more of a mission field type experience where they can be their own, be themselves and be one of the few members of the church maybe, or just to be able to provide good experiences, good learning experiences for my kids, so that they can have a better outlook on life and how important the gospel really is in their life, and hope that they stay close, and that they live the gospel, that they gain their own testimony of it. And I just want them to be able to have experiences